Welcome back, everybody. The Cam Jam Experience. Cameron Gwynn talking at you. My boy James Paxson sitting by my side. How do you do?
I do great.
That's awesome. So we got a look at the playoffs again. The NHL and the NBA playoffs are in full swing. But before we get to that, yesterday was National Lemonade Day. Today is National Have a Coke Day. So that got me thinking, there's a lot of weird national whatever, insert here. So it got me thinking about all the different ones I like, and I wanted to propose a question to you, Jimmy. Why don't you take a second, go ahead, look what your favorite national insert day here.
Don't need to look. Next April 7th next year, I'll be celebrating National Beer Day with my father.
You'll actually be able to celebrate it how you're supposed to celebrate it, actually.
What's your favorite day?
My favorite day, September 19th, is National Talk Like a Pirate Day. So you better believe I'm going to be wearing an eye patch, parrot on my shoulder, and I'll be ready to go.
If only we didn't live in the same house.
Alrighty. So, Jimbo, what's been going on lately?
Well, you know, it's pretty depressing baseball talk here around Detroit City, so we're just not even going to talk about that.
No, let's not.
But I want to give a big shout out to the Preds, Nashville Predators, going to their first ever conference finals.
Yeah,
And they're looking unbelievable.
they are.
I wanted to start the show today talking about Pekka Rinne. Dude, this guy's unbelievable.
He's playing great.
I cannot stress how great of a player Pekka Rinne is. He is definitely my vote for the best goalie in the playoffs. I don't know if you can think of a better one.
I mean, Fleury's been playing really good, but I just think Pecorini's been playing outstanding.
I mean, the other night when they won Game 6 against St. Louis, he had a save percentage of .958. He had 23 saves, and he only gave up one goal.
Right.
I mean, you look at what he's been able to do. He gave up 2 goals when the Blues won Friday night. I mean,
all these games against the Blues have been so close, too. Like, they've all been decided by 1 or 2
goals. They played good, but my point is he didn't give up more than 3 goals against St. Louis.
No.
And that's an unbelievable
That was awesome. And like I said, there were only 2 games where it was decided by more than 2 goals, and Nashville came out on top with 3-1 wins in Game 3 and Game 6.
So I'm going to give Nashville big credit here.
Oh, big props to Nashville. So let me give big props to a different team then. A team that is pushing the first Game 7 in the playoffs this year, and is the Oilers and the Ducks.
Well, I'm not going to give any props to anyone in that series because we don't know who's going to win yet.
But I'm giving props to the Oilers team as a whole. They won 7-1 their last game.
Yeah, they played unbelievable.
Connor McDavid nowhere to be found.
Yes.
No points. He had no goals, no assists.
That's a great sign.
That is. Somebody who did have a great game, actually 2 people, is Letestu. He had 2 goals, pretty good game. And Draisaitl. Believe I'm saying it right. Draisaitl? Something like that.
It's not Dry Saddle.
Draisaitl.
There's no way his name is Dry Saddle.
It's close. Anyway, he scored 3 goals. Like, that's a good sign for the Oilers coming into Game 7.
Very good sign.
And the fact that it's the first Game 7 of these playoffs, after how crazy good these playoffs have been so far, that kind of threw me for a second. I didn't realize that this was the first Game 7 that we've had.
Yeah, the NHL playoffs have been pretty well mastered. The only reason I was saying stuff about Nashville is because they swept Chicago and beat St. Louis. They're clear favorites to go into the Stanley Cup against Anaheim or Edmonton. That game's played tomorrow, the Edmonton-Anaheim game.
Yes.
Which would be Tuesday. Our shows are recorded a day ahead of time. No, actually, it's
they play Wednesday.
They play Wednesday.
Are you gonna stay up for that game? It starts at midnight Eastern.
I don't.
I want to stay up and watch it, but it starts at midnight.
No, I won't be watching that game.
Oh,
I'm
sad.
not going to be watching that game.
Sad.
This sad West Coast series of Anaheim and Edmonton. My point is, who's going to be winning this series?
Oilers.
I've thought the Oilers, but Ryan Getzlaf has been playing unbelievable for Anaheim. I still think the Oilers are going to win.
Okay.
But remember, the series is in Anaheim.
Right.
Getzlaf's been playing unbelievable.
Right.
And the other night in Game 5, when the series was tied 2-2, Anaheim scored 3 goals in the last 3 minutes.
That's
It was
true.
one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in hockey.
That's true. But the
So-
Oilers came back and answered with a 5-goal first period.
Yes, you're pretty sure on the Oilers. I'm not as sure as you are.
That's fine.
But they play Wednesday, so we'll see how that happens.
Yeah, we will. We'll look at it. So then let's go over to the Eastern Conference. The Rangers and Senators. This has been a very interesting one because I think both you and I thought that the Senators weren't going to make it past the Bruins, but they did.
Yes.
And then you and I both thought that the Rangers were going to match up pretty good against the Senators, but hasn't really looked that way. Right now the Senators are up 3-2. Game 6 is going to be tomorrow in New York. So what are you thinking is going to happen in this Game 6, Jimmy?
I think it's going to be clinching winning for Ottawa. I think they're going to win. Pretty clear in my opinion because of the way they've been playing. I understand the game is in
New York, yep.
Is in New York, but I mean Ottawa has had such great offense this whole playoffs.
They really
let alone
have.
the series. I mean they've scored more than 4 goals a couple times.
Yeah, their last game, they won 5-4.
They won 5-4. So I think Ottawa's going to win the series, no problem. The Rangers just aren't good defensively as they used to be.
Right.
And Lundqvist isn't looking like Lundqvist.
No, he really isn't. And when you're able to put up at least 3 goals on Lundqvist, that's a good game.
Mm-hmm.
And he just has not been showing up. The Senators figured out the Rangers' defense. They've been able to skate around it and just score goals like crazy. We haven't seen anyone score goals on the Rangers like this in a long time. So then the other side, Penguins and the Capitals. The Penguins are up 3-2. They play tonight.
Yes.
At 7:30. So that's one that we will watch for sure.
Well, yes, and I also will be watching Wednesday's game where Washington and Pittsburgh come back to Washington and play.
Ooh.
I guarantee that Washington will win tonight. No
I'm
problem.
feeling it too because Washington's coming out of a game where they just won 4-2. They're
Yeah, but
playing good.
that team looked like the Capitals.
I know that team looked like the
That
Capitals.
team
They
was the
found
Capitals.
it.
Yes.
They found it is what I was getting at. Yeah, you got me.
They found themselves pretty good. I liked how everyone played for Washington, and Pittsburgh isn't looking right ever since that Sidney Crosby injury.
And no, of course they're not going to because Sidney Crosby is he's the superstar of the team for sure. Evgeny Malkin's great, yeah, but you'd rather have Crosby out there than Evgeny Malkin.
Right.
So who is going to be your pick still to win the Stanley Cup? Are you going with Caps still?
It's going to be the winner between Washington and Pittsburgh. I
Okay.
still think the Caps. I know it's crazy that I think they're going to come back and win 3 straight games and beat Pittsburgh, but I'm still going with the winner of Washington and Pittsburgh, and
It
it will
has
be
to be.
Washington. But I'll tell you right now, Nashville's looking really good.
Nashville is looking really, really
The
good.
thing
That
that- the
scrappy
thing that-
team.
The thing that worries me about them, though, is that this is their first conference
Yeah,
finals.
yep.
They really haven't gone any
No
farther.
experience.
Right. Their experience isn't there. I don't think it's going to be Ottawa or New York if they win. Edmonton, Anaheim, either team will lose to Nashville.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I think it's going to be the Capitals.
So Nashville Capitals final, and we got the Caps going all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us agree on that. That's sweet. All right, so let's take a pit stop real quick, stop talking about the NHL, and let's go into NASCAR talk with my boy James Paxson.
Well, as all of the NASCAR fans know, it's starting to get really serious as soon as May comes around. Yesterday, the winner was Ricky Stenhouse Jr. It's a good name.
I love that name.
It's a great name. And who came in second was Jamie McMurray, and third was Kyle Busch. They were at Talladega. Ricky Stenhouse led 14 laps. And some other big names was Jimmy Johnson got third. Jimmy Johnson got eighth. He led 3 laps. Brad Keselowski got seventh. Earnhardt Jr., his last season, we've talked about this quite a bit, that I'm looking for something to call him one of the best racers. He ended up in 22nd.
Will we find it this year?
No, he's not as good as his father. He's not as good as the average racer. He's not as good as everyone says because of his name, Earnhardt Jr. Quite frankly, I'm looking for something here to prove that he's going to be doing anything. And so that's why I'm really worried about this. I mean, one thing I want to make clear is that Dale Earnhardt Jr. isn't supposed to do anything this year, so you're going to classify someone as one of the best racers who's never won a championship. That's my thing. I don't think he's going to do that amazing. The standings right now after yesterday's race is Kyle Larson is still in first place with Martin Truex behind him and Brad Keselowski in third. Jimmy Johnson chasing for that championship. He's in 8th right now. And one thing I wanted to talk about real quick is that nobody is expecting Johnson to win, but he will always come back near the end of the year and try and win. So he is, of course, no surprise of mine if he comes back and starts racing better. My point is a lot of NASCAR fans are excited if they're not Jimmy Johnson people because they want to see somebody else win. But for all the Jimmy Johnson people, I quite frankly see him coming back. He always does better at the end of the season. Him and Chad Knaus will do something amazing like always, so I'm not worried about that at all. And next week is a really good race. It's Kansas Speedway. Kyle Busch is the defending champion. It's a 1.5 mile tri-oval, and as always, they're going to be turning left.
Yay. Thank you for answering the question before I said it.
Well, that's what I do.
It's like a psychic in here.
Well, I wouldn't call myself a psychic. I would rather call myself a NASCAR-ic.
NASCAR? A NASCAR-ic?
That was the worst thing I've ever said in my life.
Hey,
Can
you know,
please
it's
start
okay.
talking?
Okay. You want to kick it then? You want to sit back, take a pit stop? Okay. So, like you said, May is a fun time for NASCAR. It's also a fun time if you are a Premier League fan. The table is tightening up, and Chelsea is still at the top. They got 81 points with 3 games left. They play West Brom, Watford, and Sunderland. And Tottenham right behind them. They got 77 points. They also have 3 games left, but they play Man U in their next game. Probably the hardest game that they could have drawn up for the next one. That's always a fun game to watch, Tottenham and Man U. And then Leicester City, who we saw great things from last year, 5,000 to 1 odds to winning the Premier League, and they did. That's awesome. So they got them next. And then Hull City, who, let's face it, Tottenham will plow them. And then Liverpool is in 3rd with 70 points. They have 2 games left. They have Man City is in 4th with 69 points left. Both of those teams are already out of it. No chance that they can win. Tottenham could overtake Chelsea, though, but with that schedule, it's going to be difficult. They need to win at least 2 games and hope Chelsea loses the rest of their 3 games. That's really the only hope they have. I think Chelsea's going to win it, though, with the schedule that they have left and just who Chelsea has been this year. They've been a great team. They've been playing great. Hazard came back from his off season last year. Awesome team. So then let's go back to the States. MLS. The Eastern Conference, you got Toronto FC up at the top, 19 points. They're 5-1-4. That one being 1 loss. So that's pretty good, you know. Orlando FC, 18 points. They're 6-3. New York City, 16 points. They're 5-3. And then the expansion team Atlanta is dropping slowly. They're in 7th place with 11 points. They're 3-4-2. FC Dallas, still undefeated, 18 points, 5-0-3. Sporting KC, 18 points, 5-2-3. And Portland with 17 points, 5-3-2. The Minnesota United, who is the Western Conference expansion team, is 7th also with 11 points. They are 3-5-2. Going great. Premier League's almost done. One thing I do want to add, though, is FIFA did make a rule change. They will be allowed to use video replay system for World Cup 2018.
That would be the one sport I'm surprised doesn't already have it.
They kind of do. They're starting to add more with like the goal line technology that they implemented at the last World Cup, but it's just kind of a hard sport to have that in because it's a
for offsides, I'm saying. You need that for offsides.
You need it for offsides, which would be a quick check. Yes, he is, but for other things such as penalties and whether it's in the box, outside the box, stuff like that, it'll be hard to like actually sit there and take time to look. That's the only difficulty I could see, and that's what most of the people were talking about, why it hasn't been implemented, is because soccer is really the only sport where it's a non-stop. There's not really timeouts. The NHL is the only other case that's
fair.
like that.
That's fair. You can't
but
stop a lot in
there's
soccer.
no timeouts. The only timeout
so
you have is
could they
during a
just
sub.
add that to stoppage time? Like, I know this is insane, but how about like 15-minute stoppage time?
I've seen it.
Yeah,
You've
so
seen it multiple times, but
just add it.
the only thing that sucks is you don't want to interrupt that flow because when you stop that flow, it completely restarts a team. You can ruin a whole game by doing that.
Well, I like the rule change. I think it's better.
I think
it's better for the sport.
I think it's a good one as long as they can do it right. That's the only thing I ask is to do it right, which is going to be difficult. So let's go back to playoff talk. You down for that?
Before we go to playoff talk, I actually want to talk about something that hit news today.
Okay.
Earlier today, Toronto Raptors guard Kyle Lowry will opt out of his contract this summer and become a free agent. reported by ESPN's Mark Stein,
Good guy.
the 31-year-old had a career best 22.4 points this season, and he averaged 7 assists per game. And everyone who's been following the playoffs knows that he had an ankle injury during the Eastern Conference. Toronto was just swept by Cleveland, and so they're out of the playoffs no matter what. But
Right.
he did suffer an ankle injury. This is one of my favorite free agents to look at because he can change the dynamic of a team. So what I want to ask you is, what are the top 3 places that Kyle Lowry could go to next season?
I mean, there's so many different places you can go. It's difficult, though, because this draft is full of guards also who could potentially be that. That's the only thing that you got to look at. But somewhere that could use him the most, I like where you went with Chris Paul going to Miami. I think that might be good for Kyle Lowry, a good place to go. Miami, it's some good young talent there that could build and become a good Eastern Conference team. I think that's a good spot for him. That's probably the best option, in my opinion.
You're going with Miami?
Miami, yeah.
Well, I decided to do a top 3
All right.
because Miami's number 3.
Okay.
It's the number 3 destination. Number 2 would be the Detroit Pistons. I don't only say that being a Pistons fan.
Right.
I say that because people are looking to get Reggie Jackson out, and Kyle Lowry's clearly better than Reggie Jackson. He can lead this team.
I would like
But
it
that's
if he
not
came here.
That's not number 1.
I don't see that happening, though. As much as I would love it to happen, and I think it'd be a good fit for him to come to the Pistons,
Right.
get rid of Reggie, add Kyle
Right.
Lowry. That sounds amazing, but I just don't think Stan Van Gundy's going to do it.
That's fine, but that's not my number 1. My number 1 is he's going to go with the Clippers.
Ooh.
With him and
Paul?
DeAndre.
You think Paul's out already?
I think Paul's out.
You think he's gone?
It's a really weird hot take, but I think Chris Paul's already not an LA Clipper.
Sizzle.
And I think the way he could work with Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan would be amazing. But more importantly, forget about Kyle Lowry real quick, because this is the conversation I wanted to have with you. What will the Raptors be like without him? Because DeMar DeRozan is an unbelievable player.
He is. I think he plays better, and I think the Raptors are better off with just DeRozan. As awesome as they could be with Lowry and DeRozan, I just think DeRozan does better handling the team on his own. He's put up great numbers without Lowry in. Yeah, sure, they didn't win as many games, but it's also on the fly. The other players got to get used to it. But give DeMar DeRozan the offseason.
See, one thing that really worries me about him is in one of the games against the Cleveland Cavaliers, it was game 2,
right,
when Kyle Lowry went down. He played 31 minutes and scored 5 points.
That's true.
He did
He
not.
does have his off moments.
But the next game, he played 40 minutes and had 37 points.
Yep.
So the inconsistency is really what's worried about me.
Yes.
He can be amazing at times, and at times he can't. You got to remember he's going to be 28 after the summer. His birthday's in the summer. He'll be 28. I don't know if he has the ability to lead a team the way he does. The way Kyle Lowry could.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue which one's a better player. My opinion, it's DeRozan.
Right.
I don't know what your opinion is.
I think it's DeRozan. I just think he needs the time, which this offseason can bring, to figure out how to lead the team. Because he was kind of just thrown in it, hey, you have to be the sole leader, go do this, which kind of sucks when you're going midway through the season. But like I said, offseason is a good time to work on that. I think he's going to get closer with his teammates. He's the number 1 guy now. There's nothing else to say about it. He's the number 1 Raptors guy.
Yes, that's very true. And the Raptors, they don't have a terrible team.
No, they really don't.
I like what Serge Ibaka has done. He hasn't done what I expected him to do in Toronto. I like what he's done. I like Jonas Valanciunas. I like number 17 for the Toronto Raptors.
That's okay.
These names are just unbelievable. But I like what the Toronto Raptors have. My only thing is I think losing Kyle Lowry will bring this team down to a 7-8 seed or a non-playoff team. DeMar DeRozan is a great player, but I don't see them being the same team without Kyle Lowry, which is why it's very interesting that he's leaving.
Right.
Because they are so close.
They are.
They had a little bit of an off year.
Right.
But last year they were so close. They just needed a couple things to go their way and better playoff matchups. So I don't know what he's thinking, because if he goes to the Western Conference, he's going to verse Golden State or San Antonio. And if he stays in the Eastern Conference, what team would he be better on than the Toronto Raptors?
There's not another team that he would be better on than the Toronto Raptors.
Well, you look at
they
it.
were considered the best backcourt last year, right?
Right.
So why wouldn't you continue that?
This is why this is confusing to me. You name teams that are good in the Eastern Conference. Name teams that you expect to be good next year in the Eastern Conference.
Cavs, Boston.
Already have a point guard.
Washington, they got 2.
Basically.
Yeah. There's no.
So I don't
nothing.
get his thinking with this.
There's not.
He had another year on
Money.
his contract.
Money.
But
Money.
he will get more money.
Yes.
He will get more money.
That's the only thing I can think.
I like the idea that you said him going to Miami. I think he's going to go to the Western Conference, though.
Yeah.
I think people in the Eastern Conference are done versing LeBron James.
How sweet would it? Ooh, actually, I got a better idea now.
What's that?
I just thought of another team where Lowry can go.
Where?
The Spurs.
That's not terrible.
I think
Parker
that's a
had
good
that
spot.
injury.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's getting older.
Parker's almost done. Has that knee injury that might force him into retirement. Who knows?
That's probably better than any team we've said.
That's a good spot.
As fit-wise.
Yeah.
As opportunity, we don't know.
We don't know.
I don't know
think
what he's thinking.
Pop could definitely
He's
push
31.
it in and make that happen.
My only point is he's 31.
Right.
I don't expect him to go to a team and lead them for 5-6 years and build. He needs to go to a team where there's already playoff caliber.
Spurs.
That's a good pick.
That's a good spot for him. You got the best two-way player in Kawhi Leonard. You got LaMarcus Aldridge. All they really need is a dynamic point guard like Kyle Lowry. That's a good team right there. That's scary. That's a good matchup against Golden State.
Right. Well,
So-
we're going to talk about playoffs,
Yep.
of course. And the Cavs swept Toronto, as we said. The Warriors swept the Jazz. There's another game to go.
Tonight.
I like watching the Jazz, though.
I
don't
do
know
like
why.
watching
I
the
like
Jazz.
watching the Jazz. I like watching Gordon Hayward. You said a couple weeks ago or last week they shouldn't leave. Gordon Hayward needs to get the hell out of Utah. He could be an amazing player somewhere else. He is leading that team with every single member putting their fingernails in his back. Yes, the Utah Jazz have a decent team, but watching Gordon Hayward play these past couple games, I just feel bad for him. He is my most sympathetic playoff performer right now because he is clearly fighting for his life.
He's awesome.
He's a good player.
He is a
He's
really
a very
good player.
underrated player.
And if you look at his transformation over, I think this is his 6th season in the NBA, his transformation from his rookie year on, it's just he grew up so much.
Great player.
Great player. So, I mean,
There's,
my opinion, there's only one series that's a lot of fun to talk about right now.
That's weird because both series that we haven't talked about are tied 2-2.
Yeah. But the Spurs-Rockets haven't been as much fun to watch, really. The closest game they've had was, I believe, 10 points. Not that close. The fun one for me has been Boston-Washington.
I
have been
unbelievable.
Loving watching all this, the chippiness, that's playoff atmosphere right there. Both these teams are fighting tooth and nail. Get it? Isaiah Thomas lost that tooth. They're going at each other's throats. This is fun to watch. This is what playoff basketball should be. Is Boston-Washington.
See, here's the reason that Boston-Washington has been so much better to watch is because two of the NBA's caliber stars have showed that they're caliber stars, and that's John Wall and Isaiah Thomas.
Yes.
And it's the most fun series to watch right now because of the chippiness, but also because of the play. There's
been amazing.
Unbelievable plays.
Amazing play.
What John Wall has been able to do on basically
a depleted
team, I'll say.
Minus Bradley Beal.
Well, they did just have a very hard series against Atlanta.
Yeah, they did.
They had
Atlanta gave it to them a little bit.
But I still believe Washington will win this series.
I'm thinking so too.
Boston
Bradley Beal has been holding down the defensive side of things, and John Wall has just been lighting up the boards on offense.
Here's why. Do you know who Boston's leading rebounder is this series?
Who?
Al Horford.
Is he really?
With 5 rebounds a game. That's a problem.
That's it?
2 things. 1, that's a problem when Al Horford is your leading rebounder.
Jeez.
I'm surprised he's still playing basketball in the National Basketball Association.
Yeah,
2,
he's getting up there.
5 rebounds a game should not be your leading rebounder.
That's too low. You should have somebody that's got at least 8 or 9. 5? Jeez. That's terrible.
As for the other series, I think it's going to be a huge dynamic as news got out today that Nene won't be playing anymore.
What happened to Nene?
Nene had an injury. He's done.
He's done? Like, what's the injury, though? I mean, I didn't hear about the injury.
You didn't hear about the injury.
I didn't hear about what it was.
Looking it up right now, but I know for a fact he's out of the playoffs. He had a groin injury.
Oh, no.
And now he will be done for the rest of the playoffs.
He's got to be.
Well, yeah, they
groin
said
injuries are
very
too
gruesome.
bad. Oy.
He suffered it in the last game against San Antonio.
Yeah.
And it was in the first quarter.
Jeez.
The series hasn't been fun to watch because you expected more.
I expected it to be closer.
Okay.
That's where I'm going with it. Because most of the games have been 20-point wins either way.
Well, real quick, give me who will win Houston, San Antonio, and in what game?
San Antonio, Game 7.
I still think San Antonio in 6.
Okay.
I'm a huge San Antonio supporter, as I've said before. I think they're going to be Golden State. But for someone who doesn't have that opinion, Houston, San Antonio, whoever wins, are they going to give Golden State any fight?
I think Houston might have a better matchup against Golden State. Just given the fact that their offense is so fast and so quick, they might be able to match up well against the defense of Golden State. But I think the Spurs would be fun to watch because their defense might be able to hold down Golden State a little better than Houston's. Houston and Golden State would be a high scoring. Very, very high scoring.
Yes.
They would be mostly offense unless Draymond Green decides to just hold down the paint. That's what that series would look like. I think Houston versus Golden State would be a lot of fun to watch, but I think the Spurs are just going to do it. I think they're going to Game 7, go on against Golden State. And then like we said, I think Golden State's going to go. You think the Spurs are going to go to the finals.
I don't see Golden State keeping this up is the
Right.
problem. They're an amazing team. I'm not saying they're a bad team. It's just their offense has to be stopped by someone. And in my opinion, whoever wins in the Eastern Conference will not be able to stop anyone from the Western Conference. I don't think the Cavs are going to win it this year because they've had practically no competition.
No.
And I do play that in a factor for any team, no matter what sport it is. If you have no competition leading up to the championship, you will not be prepared.
You'll get slapped in the face.
Correct. So I think, kind of like with the Caps in Pittsburgh, whoever wins between Washington and the Penguins will be the Stanley Cup champions. Whoever wins between Golden State and San Antonio will, without a doubt, be the NBA champions.
I can't disagree with that.
Well, there's a reason they call me a genius.
Hey, Genius Jimmy. So I got a real quick question for you then.
Absolutely.
Like we said, the Eastern Conference hasn't really had much competition at all. Cavs swept both series they've been in. Do you think LeBron is ruining the Eastern Conference?
He's ruining the whole NBA.
The whole NBA.
LeBron James is the second best player in NBA history behind Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan isn't playing anymore, so he is the best player ever.
Currently.
I don't know when this is going to stop.
I don't know.
My prediction is the Cavs will be the Eastern Conference champions for the next 3 or 4 years.
No, at least the next 3 or 4 years. The only question I want to ask though, take LeBron out of there, so then all you have is Kyrie and Kevin for the Cavs. Where do you think the Cavs would be if LeBron just didn't exist?
Well, where's LeBron?
He just doesn't exist.
The whole NBA revolves around LeBron.
He just doesn't exist. Imagine he's never in the NBA.
So hold on, he's not in the league at all.
Right.
I think the Cavs would be in the Eastern Conference because it's pretty weak. I think they would be
Top 5, for
yes,
sure.
I was going to say top 5.
Yeah.
Or top 3.
That would make things so much more interesting in the East. But just
You know my opinion. The NBA is boring now. They ruined
is.
it. They have 2 amazingly super teams that are supposed to make it to the finals every year.
Yep.
Part of my prediction of San Antonio making it, I can't lie, is biased that I want this to change. I have statistics and fact in an actual sports take that San Antonio will make it to the finals. But I'm not going to lie. A part of my reasoning is I don't like watching it anymore because it's not a fun league.
That's
It
true.
isn't. Yes, it's fun to see Isaiah Thomas put up 47 points against the
what
Phoenix
a guy.
Suns.
What a guy.
But the problem is none of those teams even matter when it comes to Cleveland or Golden State.
I think that's all the time we got today. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Make sure to check out on Thursday our Concussion podcast, also featuring a spelling bee, where we're going to see if Jimmy is the real genius or not. Thank you, guys.
Well, there's a reason they call me a genius.